This tiny structure you're seeing right now can shut down your body in minutes. It's one of the smallest, deadliest molecules. Just two atoms, one carbon, one nitrogen. This is the cyanide ion. It consists of just one carbon atom triple bonded to a nitrogen atom. Because of this triple bond, the molecule is linear and very stable internally. But what makes cyanide dangerous is not the bond between carbon and nitrogen. It's how this molecule interacts with the metals inside your body. Cyanide can also exist as hydrogen cyanide, which is small and uncharged. This neutral form can cross biological membranes very easily, allowing cyanide to rapidly distribute throughout the body once exposure occurs. The tininess of the molecule also enables it to move quickly and reach critical cellular machinery very efficiently. To understand cyanide's effect, we first need to understand how the cells normally produce energy. Almost every cell in your body has mitochondria, often called the powerhouse of the cell. This mitochondria generates adenosine triphosphate, ATP, which is the molecule your cells use as energy. Here's what normally happens. You breathe in oxygen. That oxygen travels through your bloodstream and eventually reaches the mitochondria. Inside the mitochondria is a system called the electron transport chain. Electrons are passed along this chain through a series of protein complexes. At the very end of this chain sits a critical enzyme called cytochrome C oxidase, also known as complex 4. This enzyme performs the final step of cellular respiration. It transfers electrons to oxygen and reduces the oxygen to water. This final step allows the entire system to keep flowing and ultimately drive the production of ATP. As long as this system runs smoothly, your cells have a constant supply of energy. Here's where cyanide becomes dangerous. Cytochrome C oxidase contains a heme ion center, specifically ferric ion. Oxygen normally binds at this metal center so the enzyme can complete the final step of respiration. But cyanide has an extremely strong attraction to ferric ion. So what happens is when the cyanide enters the mitochondria, it binds tightly to the ion in cytochrome C oxidase, thus chemically forming a very stable coordination complex with that metal. And once cyanide occupies the site, oxygen can no longer bind effectively. And when oxygen cannot accept electrons, the entire electron transport chain backs up and stops. It literally shuts down. When cytochrome C oxidase is blocked, the consequences spread rapidly, very fast. Electron flow through the electron transport chain slows and then stops. Because electron flow stops, the protein pumping across the mitochondrial membrane also stops. Without the protein gradient, ATP synthase, which is the molecular machine that produces ATP, can no longer function. As a result of that, mitochondrial ATP production drops. Your cells suddenly lose their primary source of energy. And we all know that cells are extremely sensitive to sudden energy failure. So if they can't produce the energy, then it becomes disastrous. When oxidative phosphorylation shuts down, cells try to compensate by switching to anaerobic metabolism, glycolysis to be specific. Unfortunately, glycolysis is far less efficient and it produces lactate as a byproduct. As lactate accumulates in the bloodstream, the blood becomes more acidic, leading to a condition called lactic acidosis. The falling pH begins to interfere with normal enzyme function and cellular stability because it just becomes too acidic for the normal performance, for the cells to perform normally. At the same time, something very paradoxical is happening. Oxygen may still be present in the blood, but the tissues cannot use it. And this condition is called histotoxic hypoxia. So literally the tissues are poisoned and unable to utilize the oxygen. So the oxygen may be present, but the cells cannot utilize it. They can't use it. They're not able to use it. And this is the hallmark of cyanide poisoning. Not all organs are equally sensitive to this energy crisis. The heart and the brain are the most vulnerable. Why? Because they require a constant and enormous supply of ATP. They have very limited ability to rely on anaerobic metabolism and very little energy stored. So, when mitochondria ATP production collapses, these organs, which is the heart and the brain, are the first to lose function. And this is why cyanide poisoning can progress so rapidly once cellular respiration is blocked. Interestingly, the human body does have a built in detoxification pathway for small amounts of cyanide. An enzyme called rhodinase, found primarily in the liver and mitochondria, can convert cyanide into thiocyanate by transferring a sulfur atom. Thiocyanate is much less toxic and can be excreted in the urine. However, this detox system has limited capacity. If cyanide exposure exceeds what this pathway can handle, the toxic effects quickly dominate. So there's a limit to what the body can detoxify. Does it detoxify? Yes. But can it do it continuously? No, there's a limit. It reaches a point where it can no longer detoxify. Technically, cyanide doesn't stop you from breathing. Instead, it stops your cells from using oxygen, and this is what makes this tiny molecule to be so powerful and at the same time very dangerous. And I think this is enough for this video because I don't want it to be too long. So see you in the next video.